Hello, and welcome to the Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton. Hello, and welcome to the June 24th, 2022 edition of the Astrology Show podcast with me, your astrologer in Orlando, Florida, Shelley Overton. I want to thank you for joining me, and if you get a second, like and subscribe down below. It'll really help out. Thank you for coming, and today we're going to go over what's going on in the sky for the week and also discuss some current events, see what we come up with, and I hope you stick around. First, I want to say real quick that we're going to have a couple different types of charts, and that's just because it's quicker to do them certain charts in certain programs, and that gives me a couple different charts. Anyway, this one is from astrocharts.com, astro-charts. It's really nice, but yeah, I'm going to just work with that one today, first off. So as you can see with the chart here, we've got quite a few planets clustered up in Taurus and Gemini. So Moon is in Taurus. As you can see, it doesn't really look like it because of these lines, but this line right here is just the difference between the 7th house and the 8th house. And so it's in Taurus. Taurus would be this line to this line. The moon is right here, and that would put it at early Taurus or early to mid Taurus. I think it's probably around 10 or 11 degrees. And then we have Uranus over here, and he's around 21. We have Venus, who just went into Gemini. She's at 3. And then Mercury is right around 15, I think. I'll double check it real quick here. 11 degrees. Mercury's at 11 degrees, Gemini. And then the sun is in Cancer, just a few degrees, about 3 degrees. This particular chart does not have the degrees on it, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it and make sure I've got my recording there. Okay, and Pluto late Capricorn as usual, retrograde, 27 degrees. So Saturn's at 24 degrees, Aquarius. Neptune in late Pisces, Jupiter in about 10 degrees of Aries. Just may as well keep this ephemeris open. Jupiter at 6 degrees, and Saturn at 24, Uranus at 17. Neptune is at 25 of Pisces, Pluto's at 27 Capricorn, and Venus is around 2 to 3 degrees of Gemini. Okay, so what does all this mean? It means that we are focusing energy in Aries, Taurus, and Gemini predominantly, with some Saturn in Aquarius and some Pluto in Capricorn. So that means that we have, I'm just going to go bottom to top on this chart. So we have Pluto, late Capricorn, government, structures, authority in retrograde, meaning we're going back over some of the decisions we've made. As is clear, today is the day that Roe v. Wade got overturned, a terrible day in history for women. We'll get more about that later on. And then Saturn is over in Aquarius, also retrograde. So Saturn retrograde means that we're going back over the desire for autonomy and where we are standing in the country with that, where we are standing in the collective. Uranus rules Aquarius, and Uranus is up there squaring the Saturn energy, which we talk about every week. 24 degrees Saturn, and Uranus is at 17. So the moon is approaching Uranus here, and that means that she is turning on a dime and changing an ideology, changing ideas. She is awakening the culmination of a story around autonomy, and the North Node is right near there as well. So on August 1st, we're going to have Mars, Uranus, and North Node all conjunct at 18. I think I said August 1st. Anyway, August 1st, they're all going to meet together at 18 Taurus, which will be significant for a shift as well. Today we have the moon conjunct Uranus, so it's about women, about giving birth, about the feminine energy and autonomy. So, and North Node, which is a major world change, major life change, significant shift of ideology for the collective. Venus in Gemini and Mercury in Gemini are about women expressing themselves, their thoughts, desires coming about, and words, lyrics, songs, music, journaling, broadcasting, podcasting, anything like that. Mercury rules Gemini, so it's even more punctuated. And then Sun in Cancer. Cancer tends to look at security, look at the material side of life. They want to know that things are going to be safe and traditional, given the opposition to Capricorn. So if you look at any sign and go to the opposite, you're going to see where they're looking for stability. And so Cancer looks for stability with Capricorn. And because Pluto is in late degrees of Capricorn, we are seeing structures shift and change. And Cancer is seeking, the ego is seeking to have that structure. And that will be the way it is for the next about 28 days until Sun moves into Leo. And then it becomes more about creativity in children and expression of drama. Currently, though, with Sun in Cancer, we can see the story answers to the moon. The moon is right there on Uranus, the unexpected, the unexplained, looking for answers, looking for understanding, seeking new and unusual ways of dealing with things. And so that is going to be significant in the near future. It is about poison. Uranus is poisonous, and it's also about upheaval, the unexpected. Uranus and Taurus is about earth, upheaval of the earth. This can be storms, this can be earthquakes, this can be lightning strikes and tornadoes, anything where the air meets the earth and creates strife and stress, that's happening. And then we have Chiron conjunct Mars. Chiron is the wounding, Mars is men, aggression, assertion, self-promotion. It is the story around guns. It's the story around equality of races. It is building and creating, especially when Mars gets to late Aries, it's going to square Pluto, and that's going to be construction, fire, shift of things that require exertion for a change. Jupiter in Aries is expanding the story around men as it approaches Chiron and Mars. Mars is going to take a little while before it talks to Jupiter again. We did have that Jupiter move into Aries, and the moon in Aries the same day was Uvalde, the war. It is a war, the Uvalde incident. And so having Jupiter, Chiron, Mars is really showing where we are maybe being bullied, where we are being strong-armed, where we are angry or aggressive or assertive in our lives, where we are ambitious or self-serving. We have a lot of that this week. I even have it within my family. It's a thing. Moon, Uranus, North Node, again, significant changes and shifts in the material world. That's money, currency. It is financial and fiscal. It is growth around chemicals. I was watching a YouTuber, if you want to see its Roots and Refuge farm, and her name is Jess, and she was talking about how she has these high top kind of covered garden beds, and she put in dirt, but the dirt was contaminated and all of her crop plantings died. So she was up in arms, and she's a usually very mellow person, but she posted a video basically talking about how the soil was contaminated and it killed all of her things. And she is not going to change out all the soil and start again, which she said she's quite capable of doing that and doing it quickly. But she is so angry at the fact that poisons have infiltrated everywhere in the soils right now, and that includes the chemicals from Roundup, and I can't remember, hers started with a G, like grows on, something like that. But they're in our soil, and they're finding their way even to organics. And so she said that she's going to find ways of amending the soil, composting the soil, bringing it back to health without taking it out. And so she was going on and on about that. Poison in the soil, poison in the body definitely in the diet is coming up. Basically what you're looking at is a massive amount of new change coming in around self, around expression, around masculine energy and feminine energy, both taking up arms, pardon the pun, for their respective points of view. Mars is in Aries, Venus just moved into Gemini. Mars in Aries is expressing that male energy, as I've said, more of an aggressive male energy right now. And I apologize, I had lunch right before this and it made me a bit congested from gluten. So of course my voice is raspy. It's not lost on me that Taurus moon and the planets in Taurus represent the voice. And so it's making it a little bit harder right now. Anyway, so that's kind of the lay of the land. You see that the planets are all still on one half of the zodiac. It is, I believe today, still the ability to see all of these above the horizon just after sunset. So if you want to see the stellium, go out at night just after sunset and you should be able to see them. So the moon and the sun kind of came together overnight. There was a sextile last night, Thursday night, and today the moon is joining with Uranus. Obviously, the big news is Roe v. Wade, and that's going to have a lot of fallout, especially next year when Pluto goes into Aquarius. So, I'll touch more on that here after I get into it. We have Saturday, moon enters Gemini. So moon in Gemini on Saturday is going to give voice to pretty much the anger that women have been feeling today with this particular ruling, and it affects women. So, there you go. Anyway, I'm going to skip through a lot of this. There's a conjunction between the moon and Gemini, Venus on Sunday at 3:03 a.m., and then a sextile to Aries, Jupiter later in the day. So that's going to be voice and assertion. So definitely, I think and let me just say this. The ruling came on a Friday. They gave it out on a Friday because they're going on vacation. They're taking time away as of this weekend. So they'll be gone next week. There's no fallout for them. They throw it out into the world. It's disgusting that this is how politics are played in this country, but it's the case. So there you go. Interestingly, this week I put threat to the US. Yeah, on many levels, I suppose. Anyway, Monday, all moon in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, sextiling Mercury in Gemini, moon in Gemini conjunct Mercury on Monday early in the morning. And we've got moon sextile to Chiron in Aries. So that's also probably positively affecting gun legislation because the moon is on board with the wounding. And then Mercury sextiles Chiron right after. So that's even more of that Aries storyline being more positive. We've got Mars in Aries sextile to Saturn in Aquarius. Again, the will of the people in cooperation with action. Moon in Gemini trine Saturn Monday, sextile Mars in Aries. Monday, excuse me. I think I said Monday or Sunday, I don't know. And then a square to Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is stationed right now. Neptune goes retrograde on Tuesday, and there's a new moon in Cancer on Tuesday. So this is an interesting aspect for me, given what has gone on, because the ideal of something is represented by Neptune. The dream of how things could be is represented by Neptune. Neptune turning retrograde means we are going from a stationary position of nothing happening to now we're going to go back over how we felt. But Neptune, when it retrogrades, feels more like an awakening, like maybe Uranus or Saturn, that it's not as amenable to things. It's not as universally loving and forgiving. It starts to notice what we have done wrong. It starts to pay attention to things that are not okay. And then Neptune, let me see, moon in Cancer, again, looking for the stability. It's moon in Cancer at 7 degrees, early degrees, initiating cardinal energy around women, around mothers. This absolutely is a time of shift where we are waking up, especially because Neptune is a feminine receptive energy. And then the moon, new, meaning initiating in early cardinal, very strong initiating energy around women, around mothers. I see it as a jumping off point. Got chills with this Tuesday, even Monday, even the weekend. It's all coming up on this approaching new moon and approaching Neptune retrograde. It's going to give rise to a very strong voice around we're not going to take it anymore. And it's going to dovetail, honestly, with the Pluto retrograde in Capricorn because they are in sextile. And so, honestly, if you thought this, and now I'm just going to go into it because Friday of next week, it says fighting with the government authority, but also the elderly and old storylines is going to be fraught with aggression because Mars in Aries. And I want to say Vesta is up in Aries as well, or let me double check where Vesta is right now. Vesta will definitely bring an energy. Oh, Vesta is at 6 degrees Pisces. So Vesta is pointing out in a critical eye where we're not paying attention. So what Vesta's doing, Vesta the asteroid, she controls the administrative energy, the documents, the paperwork. She's saying, no, you haven't crossed your T's and dotted your I's. And given the fact that she is going to be exactly in sextile to the energy, she's in Pisces, so she's also in sextile to the energy of early Taurus, which is the moon right now. And so that's going to really give tangible structure to the energy that she brings into the situation. It's a lot to digest, honestly. And that's pretty much what I'm going to say for the week, because we're going to go over Roe v. Wade today in a couple different manners. And let me just move some charts around here. So I'm going to start with this chart here, Roe v. Wade first pass. We've got, so the first pass basically represents the first time that this suit was brought to the Supreme Court, and it was argued on December 13th, 1971. And I've got 7:22 a.m., which is a sunrise chart, because there is no way of knowing. I don't have the minutes of the day from the Supreme Court for that day and time. So I will just look at the sunrise chart here. Sunrise chart, the rising sign in Washington, D.C., 7:22 a.m., December 13th. The first time this was represented to the Supreme Court, it was a Sagittarius energy, Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Mercury, and Jupiter in Sag. So it's 18, 19, 20. Stellium clustered together right there on the horizon at sunrise, representing the sense of self, the ego, freedom, Sagittarius, Mercury expressing very clearly what was wanted, freedom of communication and thought, and Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, freedom of action. Then we have Neptune over here in also in Sag at 3 degrees, just in, and that was the ideal situation of freedom. So it initially was argued under all these planets, 4 planets in Sag, with an opposition of Neptune to Saturn, taking ownership of a situation, but going back over something, going back over what is desired, what is thought about, Gemini. Making the structure, doing the government, that's Gemini. And then we have Moon at 2 degrees Scorpio, which, looking around the chart here, Scorpio and Gemini are in conjunct. So there is difficulty, Saturn retrograde. There is a stress aspect with the emotional situation and the fighting. So what I see here, because this was a woman who wanted to not be a mother. Moon was in Scorpio, the 4 planets here in freedom. She wanted freedom from motherhood. And that energy was embedded in this particular chart when she brought lawsuit, Uranus, the collective, the people in Libra, which is balance and justice. And then Pluto, 1 degree of Libra up at the top of the chart there. 1 degree, and it's, let me see, in trine. So this brought about the very beginning of the idea of Roe v. Wade. And Pluto is a major change. Saturn is about structure and restriction, around thought and going back over how the change could happen. Okay, so that's the energy that we came into this under. Now we've got the energy of what's going on today. I made a bi-wheel of it. So let's see, Roe v. Wade, January 22nd. So what happened was with Roe v. Wade, it was brought to the court December 12th, or excuse me, December 13th. And then in October of 1972, so the first one was 71, then October of 72, they re-argued the case. And then in January of 73, a decision was made. And the decision came down with positive cooperation toward freedom of women having abortion and being able to have that right, and that right over their bodies. So Aquarius, this is again a sunrise chart for Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade's the center circle of this. The outside circle is what is going on with the decision today. 11 a.m. It came out June 24, 22. So Pluto, 27 degrees directly on Mercury, how we think about structure, going back over, reviewing and trying to understand the collective around rules and regulations. Believe it or not, even though Pluto has not been retrograde very long, the fact that Pluto is retrograde tells me that this decision is not going to stand for eternity, just simply because it was above the horizon. It now is in the subconscious of the realm, but Pluto goes retrograde later in the year. And when it passes into Aquarius, it hits the sun, then the ego will be in alignment with the change collectively. So the old guard, this chart, what's going on now into the chart of Roe v. Wade, tells me that it is the end of a cycle of thinking. Now, does that mean it's going to go the way it has gone, or it's going to go back to the way it was? Or even more likely, we are going to change even a bigger story, and this is the catalyst for it. Yes, I do believe that this is a time when we are seeing very clearly how people truly are in their darkest side and how people want to control other people. And this is being shown right now through the way the government, at the highest point of the government, is out of alignment with the collective, out of alignment with the people. You could argue that there are people who want this, yes, but they are not the majority. My estimate is that the majority are the ones who voted the current president in. They want to have freedom. They want to be able to have autonomy over their bodies. And this particular energy coming in with this decision is going to shift, because there are planets that are retrograde that are significant in this chart. Saturn in the first house, retrograde in Aquarius. Pluto in Capricorn, retrograde in Capricorn. Both will be going direct this year, and Saturn, more specifically in the first house, will retrograde back over itself in the first, moving on from that point. And the identity of this situation is Aquarian, which is of the people, by the people, for the people. The Capricorn energy is exactly the energy this country was trying to get away from when we were founded, when we broke away from England and the tradition of England. So, yes, this decision has gone backwards towards what the past said. It's a little bit difficult because Neptune is stationed, which it's stationed at the very end degree. So it doesn't want to move on. It wants to stay put. It doesn't want to move forward. It doesn't want to move forward. It's about to move back. Pluto is retrograde backwards on the thought processes of the decision. So we are seeing that the stronger powers that be here, Pluto and Saturn, the stricture, the restriction, the structure, are really trying to take control back and have some staying power with this decision. We are moving into the fixed energy of Aquarius, but the nature of Aquarius is to express sympathy and empathy for the collective. I think it's going to be really hard to think about a time when this decision will be shifted again. I do think that unexpected things could happen, especially when Pluto gets to Aquarius. there are significant transits going through this chart and the world chart in the next year. And so Pluto going into Aquarius, it's going to hit the sun of this particular event. I do think because the energy of Capricorn is government and Aquarius is the people, we are going back to re-evaluating our expression as a country in how we govern ourselves. I think that that is the course for the Pluto and Aquarius generation, which it will be 2023 and dabbling back in Capricorn next year as well through 2046. And in 2046, Pluto goes to the end of Aquarius and goes into Pisces. So when Pluto moves into Pisces, there will be an energy where we are all on board psychically. And that, I mean, it seems hard to understand, but this energy has not been here for 265 years. And so in 265 plus 20, we are going to see Pluto hit the late Aquarius, early Pisces energy. And that is manifestation of the Aquarian ideal, manifestation of the Aquarian psychology. And so it is, as far as I'm concerned, a very strong time towards expressing a different truth in the collective. And this begins next year. But currently we have to deal with this in the way we are in this environment. And in the original Roe v. Wade chart, we have Saturn at 14 degrees here in the House of Home and Family. It is retrograde, so there is pulling away of the duality of the situation. And interestingly, now Gemini and Mercury and Pluto are conjunct in this chart, but over here, Mercury and Saturn are conjunct at the end degrees of women. So at the time Roe v. Wade was established, Gemini was the go-to energy and Mercury was the ruler. Pluto retrograde on Mercury very much was saying, hey, you know, I have a different voice I'm going to exert. But we also have Saturn in trine to Aquarius energy. And I can almost guarantee you by the time Pluto hits 14 degrees of Aquarius, that trine to the Saturn in this chart is going to be a major sticking point, a major shift for this storyline, because it was initiated with that Saturn at 14 Gemini. When Pluto gets to that 14, and think about it, because this inconjunct between Gemini and Capricorn has been kind of an ongoing story for Geminis for the whole time Pluto's been going through Capricorn. You've had this story of a challenge to your way of thinking and your way of communicating, your way of looking at situations. And so Pluto's been really trying to upend your way of thinking. And I think all of this energy really came in when Pluto hit the North Node of the Roe v. Wade storyline at 16, challenging the major upheaval of that decision, not only with a conjunction to the North Node, but also an inconjunct to the 14-degree Saturn. What does that mean? That means that when Pluto gets into Aquarius, we're also going to have another shift of mindset. And when it gets to 14 degrees, it's going to be in trine to Saturn. And remember what I've been saying, that is a major awakening of an understanding of a situation. So there is duality in the decision. The duality is those who want it, those who don't. And Gemini is the duality. So coming into Aquarius, you engage multiplicity. So Gemini is duality, or two twins. Libra is three, because there's the balance and the fulcrum, which makes a triangle, that's three. And Uranus or Aquarius equal multiples. So as we see Pluto, psychology and major life change hit Aquarius, we're going to have a different mindset. And the mindset is twofold. It's those of us who are here are going to be more aware of a collective mindset that we weren't aware of before. And then the other side of it is the children who are born with the strong Aquarian energy, who have a different viewpoint on the situation, are going to be getting older and coming into their own voice as adults, because Uranus was in Aquarius in the late 90s, right at the millennium, and Neptune went into Aquarius in 98, roughly 98. Yeah, Uranus was about 10 degrees in Aquarius, and Neptune was at 1 degree. of Aquarius in 98. So when Pluto hits that Aquarius energy, the activists are going to be activated, and those are the children born in 98 and past. So the ones before 98 may feel more in alignment with this decision. They may feel that the structure is good, but those born in Aquarian times with Aquarian planets are going to be awakened, and en masse, they are going to start having their voices heard in a different way. But because they're awakening with this Pluto and Aquarius, we are going to also see a shift of energy in the collective mindset. Now, am I saying that we will change the government or the decision per se? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I see it probably taking more time than we would like. And also what we have to have is a mind shift of the collective, not only about the subject, but also about how we govern and what our country as a collective is going to do from here forward. And I do see with the Pluto return energy, we are very much in a shift of mindset associated with the old guard, the old way versus the incoming new. Again, we're reiterating, we're in that cycle, that circling around to the same place that we were in 1776 with war. And we had the war. Remember that. It wasn't decided, the war, completely for another, I think, 4 to 6 years. We had the Declaration of Independence, and then we fought for it even more. And so it wasn't over just because we signed the Declaration of Independence. There were more fights to be had. So it could very well be that, because think back in that time, Pluto was still at the end of Capricorn. It was still dealing with the government of England, the monarchy of England, and by default, the government. And then it dealt with the breaking away and the actual physical dissemination of that tie of America to England. We cut those ties for good with the Declaration of Independence, but we still had to fight for what we wanted in declaring that. And that's kind of what's going on now with Roe v. Wade. And, I don't know that anyone else is going to be really talking about this as a moment in time that we have shifted our energy to a place where we can change how we view government. But all of these things, the hearings, the gun battles, the violence on the Capitol, the former presidency, and the pandemic, the Roe v. Wade, all of these are major events affecting large quantities of people, even the election. All of that is part and parcel of a new mentality that is coming in. And we need these bombs going off, so to speak, to really shake us out of our stasis. We need to move. We need to move on. And these ideas that are basically retrograde ideas, we're going back to the old, they are going to be overturned eventually. Probably not. I don't foresee it being a straight one-to-one, we're going to change what SCOTUS did. I really see it as a moment in time where we are changing our ideology around the power we give away to government. We have given our power away. This country was founded, and I said it before and I'll say it again, by the people, for the people, of the people. Given the authority figures were meant to act on behalf of Americans, we the people. This is not acting on behalf of the collective majority. This is acting on behalf of a specialty few cultures, and that is why it is going to shift. And we are not going to the old guard. The old guard is monarchy. It's the top down. That is not the government this country was founded under. It's bottom up. And we have come to the first true test of that in this Pluto return. So that's kind of what I see. Neptune retrograde also in the second house of the body, the ideal, waking up from just assuming that things are going to go the way we want because we want them to go that way. We have to awaken to the reality and the fact checking of what other people are doing, and that they are running roughshod over rights. And when Neptune goes retrograde, it's going to take the rose-colored glasses off of that storyline. Jupiter in Aries, also aggressive action. And then interestingly, I saw this as well. Chiron, we're in a Chiron return for Roe v. Wade. The wounding around the male energy and the authority to the male energy in wounding to the body right here in the second house of the body. Mars in Aries in the third house of the action taken. But then we have Moon Uranus conjunct late degrees, North Node 2 degrees off of a shift between the house of communication and ideas in the body, and then the energy of Venus transiting the home and family in Gemini. So she's answering to Mercury. She's kind of right now with Pluto on Mercury of the Roe v. Wade storyline. She's kind of beholden to that energy, but Mercury at 11 degrees and Venus and Mercury both in Gemini mean that the story around home and family is going to get told. And the Moon Uranus conjunction is very strong for activism. And then again, April 1st, 18 degrees. Right now we have 13, 17, and 21 for the Taurus planets, but it's going to be exact at 18, North Node, Uranus, Mars. So it'll be really interesting to see what that is, because Mars, of course, is men, but it's in the sign of women, the Taurus energy. And I think by then Venus will be in Cancer, which makes sense. So if anything is going to be turned one way or the other for whatever reason, whether it's voting or aggression, assertiveness, anything asserting our rights as women over our bodies, it could very well happen under Mars, Uranus, North Node, August 1st, because that's going to be truly potent energy around the feminine story. But you know, right now Mars is in Aries, so it favors action of the masculine. When Mars gets to Taurus, which will be July 4th, it's going to favor the feminine. And Uranus is the power structure and personal power. Mars is taking action towards personal power, and North Node is how it's going to affect the collective. Personally, I think that if women took action towards not accepting this situation, in other words, you know, real world things like, okay, I'm going to sue you for all child support for 18 years plus college. If, you know, if we want to go and take ownership of what the storyline is now, that means everybody has to take ownership. That doesn't mean men get to say, well, you have to carry the baby. It means that women are going to have to stand up and say, okay, what am I going to do to make this right? And that also goes for anyone who is maligned or oppressed as a country, as a collective, as a race, anything. It's time to stand up on your own behalf. We can't continue to allow authority figures. They were put there by the people. They were put there by us, and they were assigned through someone who wasn't us. In as far as SCOTUS, that whole situation, we don't vote in Supreme Court justices. We vote in the people who put in the Supreme Court justices. So keep that in mind next election day. You put in the people who will put in the next Supreme Court justice. So, but at the same time, the country is going to be shifting. The fabric of the country is shifting. And if this is the current status of how it's run in this country, they've got a huge wake-up call coming, not only August 1st, but also March 23rd, 23, when Pluto goes into Aquarius. It's going to be significant. So anyway, also there was a 1,000-person earthquake fatality earthquake in Afghanistan on the Pakistan border this last week. So it's the energy of Taurus and Uranus in Taurus, and no, it's not going to get better with Mars, Uranus in Taurus and the North Node. There's definitely going to be some significant Earth shift at that time. And I'm really hoping and knocking wood and praying and sending positive thought. I'm doing everything I can as an individual. And I would love it if you too also meditated and sent positive energy to the world, because it could also, and it could incline nuclear issues to arise, including explosions and bombs and power plants. So August 1st, we need to put a lot of positive energy towards that date. Mars Uranus North Node conjunction. Anyway, that's all for this week. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely weekend and week. And new moon in Cancer, write down and make note of the kind of home life you would like and the kind of homeland you would like. And that's all. Take care.
Hey, this is Shelley. I wanted to give you a heads up that there are a lot of new art prints at shelleyoverton.com. So go over there and check them out. SHELLEYOVERTON.com. Thanks. Up on a natural charge, bombardage. Came from the home of the Dodger Brooklyn squad. 10 killer bees on the swarm.
Private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.